Hi, family. Welcome back to Conversations with Joy Kaapu. I am so excited that you've created time to be part of this episode 8. Yay! We are growing. And thank you for the consistent love and support. And I'm just so grateful and I appreciate the comments that you share with us, and also for liking, sharing, subscribing, and tapping the notification button every Thursday when we post a video. So August in South Africa is a month that is dedicated to the women. So celebrating our women, and I always say that we should celebrate women 365 days a year, not just only in August. But we still, grateful and for this month being dedicated to us. And you have seen a couple of episodes with Sonia, with Dr. Almi, and with Michelle this month. And we thought of, as we wrap up, this Women's Month, just all of us to be together during this episode and to take you through one of the powerful models that actually Sonia introduced me to. And I found myself over the years that when I speak during the month of August, especially during women empowerment programs, I always go back to this model because I just find it so powerful. And so many women, have found healing, and there's a lot of transformational stories that I've heard after facilitating this model. So now I'm excited because I've got my ladies back. Now we all together. And Sonia, welcome back.
Thank you, Joy.
Sonia Stojavonik, and then Dr. Elmi Castleman, welcome back.
Thank you.
And Michelle van Groenen, welcome back. Thank you. So, as you can see, we've got a flip chart here today, and the model that I was telling you about is called The Four Faces of Woman by Caroline Ward. And like I've said, Sonia, my sissy, is the one that introduced me to this model, and I know you've done a lot of work with Caroline Ward, in Australia. So I'm just going to give you a moment to just acknowledge Caroline Ward for this work, and just to tell us a little bit on the work that you have done with her in Australia. Over to you.
Thank you. So I first met Caroline when she and I hosted 300 businesswomen in Australia. We invited all these really powerful businesswomen to a one-day forum to explore what we referred to as women of spirit. And we did this because of the fact that we felt that the real gifts that women bring into a business context were not able to be fully expressed within the cultures of corporates and NGOs and governments and such like. And subsequent to that, we ran the Four Faces of Women program with all of our senior leadership, all our female talent. And the funny thing was, Joy, and I think it says a lot, the men acted up. The men were annoyed. Why can't we have our own four faces? They said. And so what we did is we decided to also run a Four Faces of Men, which had never been run before. And Caroline invited two colleagues who were males, and they ran in parallel with one of our programs. And then we brought the women and the men together to have a conversation around how could we kind of build the connectivity between men and women and release both the masculine and the feminine energy for both, to kind of create really valuable and uplifting and an energized environment within the culture of the organisation that I worked for. So I always look to her, with great gratitude and thanks for introducing me also to this model, as you have already spoken, Joy.
Yeah. What a powerful story, amazing. And in talking about the men and saying that, why do you leave us out? We want to be part of this journey as well. I remember when I worked for one of the mining giants as well. I during one of the speaking engagements with women, I introduced them to the four faces, of women. And also the gentleman, said that why are you leaving us out now? Because this is such a powerful model. The same thing that women are going through, we go through the same thing. And also just going back to emphasizing that this is not only for women, so it's equally for men as well. And you spoke about the masculine and feminine energy, and I know that you are an advocate of this. And maybe before we go and unpack the phases, just to tell the viewers about the importance of all of us, whether female or male, that we both have the duality.
Yes, so I guess we would think of this as coming from the Eastern philosophies, this idea of the yin and the yang. And if we think that within us there is a wholeness, all of us are whole, and that wholeness is made up of energy, because of course everything is energy. We just look like we're solid because the energy is vibrating so slowly, but everything is energy. And having the power of the wholeness comes from the ability to hold the masculine, which is direct, it's linear, it's analytical, it's very straightforward, it's powerful, it's outcome oriented. And then the feminine, which is its complement, which is the ability to sit in the unknown, to sit in the fire, as I call it, and the ability to deal with ambiguity, to deal with what I call the mosaic, with all the different fractals and light and such like. And so you can see that when we go into a creative aspect, the feminine energy arises. And then when we come into, so it kind of opens us up. And then when we need to come down to identifying an outcome or a decision, then the masculine starts to come into play as we strip away the things that are not necessary to come to a point of decision and action. So the masculine is action, and the feminine is very much reflective and creative. And within us is both. And when we are whole, we have access to both. And it's a very powerful proposition for individuals, for teams, and for organizations.
Yeah, thank you. Well said, beautiful. Yeah, thank you, Sissy. Right. So we're going to start with the first phase, as you can see here on the flip chart, which is the eternal phase. This is the I am. Very powerful. I am. This phase is the seed, the essence of who we are, the original form of our being and our authentic self. We all start from here, all of us. So, Dr. Elmi, when looking at the eternal phase, the I am, the essence of who we are, what do you think about this, and how does it resonate with you?
So when I look at it as the unpolluted self. You have not been influenced by external forces that make you believe different things about yourself or other. It's the authentic self. I believe that we all start there.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we are exposed to forces that try to mold us into something that's not the authentic I am.
Yes.
And it reminds me of Shirley Bassey. I am what I am, and what I am needs no excuse.
Yeah. Love that. Yeah.
And then you get exposed, specifically in the corporate world, but it starts in families as well, where the focus starts to be on the masculine energy, and it forces you to, or they try to, for you to adapt to another am.
Yeah.
And they start to define people. And if you're not strong enough, if your ego and your borders aren't strong enough, if you haven't defined your own boundaries, it's very easy for people to unsettle you and throw you off balance, and you forget who your authentic is.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think I experienced a lot of it in my life because I'm not the norm. in no sense I am the norm. Not in role, not in look, not in energy, and not in action. And I've experienced a lot of push to move me into another direction. And at times they managed, but at the end the rebelness definitely came out. And sometimes that's also negative because you use unnecessary energy to gather yourself again and to get the internal I am in place again.
Yeah.
But through the journey, you move also to, all right, so what's the potential? What's the balance? The yin-yang.
Yeah.
So it's not all bad, but it would be very important for coaches, mentors, parents to help those that you mentee, the mentees or that you coach or your children to set their boundaries.
Yeah. Great.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Elmi. Yeah. Well, I'm just looking at you and it's like, wow, that makes so much sense. Yeah. Thank you for that. And as Dr. Elmi was talking about the eternal phase, the essence of who we are, that as we grow up, life starts to happen. And then we start being exposed, to different things, and we tend to lose that essence of who we are. And that's when we move into the traditional phase. Because the traditional phase is about, I am who you say I am. It's different from the I am. So now it's about conforming to society. That adaptation so that you can fit in. You were talking about it during our EQ episode, that you just want to fit in. And I've shared with you during my episode 1 that when I joined the mining industry, I moved away from being assertive to being aggressive because I wanted to be one of the boys, and fit in. And I moved from here to there, the traditional phase. And also it's about protecting yourself. I mean, one of the models that you've introduced me to when I was studying at the south of France is the layered personality, right? That we start here on the authentic self, but through life experiences and different emotions that, we experience, especially the so-called negative emotions, we start accumulating layers. And then we start having that shield because you want to protect yourself so that other people don't hurt you. Growing up, and I know in Afrikaans, it comes out quite well where they say you need to wear your grandma and your broekies, right? Yes. So you need to always have that shield to protect yourself. And then we start wearing the masks and the facades, and there's that persona that is governed by the ego. Yes. So it's all about the protection, and also this phase is dictated by the rules, that society comes up with. Like, for instance, that women belong in the kitchen, right? And men are the ones that will go outside and then hunt. So I want to get to you now, Michelle, that what's your take on the traditional phase? Yeah, and any experiences from that?
Yes, a lot. I think Afrikaans, English have got a lot of expectations on the differentiation between what a woman and what a man's role is in life, especially when it comes to careers. I think women finds it almost have a guilt of being driven by careers. And they also have a guilt of not wanting to have kids. And because they love a career or they want to have a different path in life. And this is where the traditional phase comes. Those expectations are placed on us from a child. I mean, we're playing with dolls, Barbie dolls, and babies, and we got kitchens. We can't play with cars because you're a girl. What's wrong with you if you play with a car? Because I love to. I don't know if you know micro machines. It was like little cars that I love to play with, and I love to play with Legos.
Yeah.
I had my dolls, my Barbie dolls, but they were kind of deep in the cupboard, and you kind of are placed in that. Why are you doing this? This is not a normal situation for a girl, and we go through that process up through life. And career, if you are driven by career, look at the expectations placed on kids. You go out of school, what's your next step? I'm going to study. Great. What's the next step? I'm going to get married. Fantastic. Then what's the next one? I'm going to have kids, because that's the expectation. And that is a role we should play. And a lot of moms get stuck there because the expectations and the traditional rules are put on us. So we built that facade of and guilt around it. You know, I'm a career, so I'm not with my child. Other moms that are house moms, and I respect house moms and I respect career women, so don't get me wrong, I think we all have a place in this world. But we kind of not support each other because of this tradition. Women don't support each other because of it, and I think it's so wrong. We need to support each other and our choices in life so much more, and you know, start moving away a little bit from the traditional. Because again, you move into a rebellious, I'll show you. Check this, I'll show you, you know, and then it doesn't always pan out well, you know. It doesn't always go so well for you. Yes, with proving that point.
Yes,
Instead
and
of
it
just
takes out a lot of energy.
Yes,
It drains energy.
and we have the energy to stand by each other. I always say it takes a village. We forgot about it. We want to do everything ourselves and show everybody we are successful. If I do parenting and I do career myself, then I will be successful in life because I'll show you. Again, rebellious streak.
That
But
competition
it takes
as
a
well.
village. Women need to stand by each other. I feel so strongly that it takes a village. Go back to the traditional. Yes, it takes a village, and stand by each other's choices.
And it's about time that we also stop the competition, you know, as women,
Yes,
right?
why? I don't understand why people can't be happy for that person's success in their career, family, in both, you know. I struggle with that concept, especially. And we can be so critical on each other. Terribly critical on each other.
And when I do coaching, I mean, I don't know about you, Sonia, that I also find a lot of corporate women saying that I don't want to report to a woman. You know, it's better to report to a man because, you know, women, they don't help you to grow. You know, there's that competition, that jealousy. And it's not necessary. It is not. Yes, it is not.
I think we don't understand how much power we can have by holding hands and standing together.
Before I come back to you on the modern phase, I'm just curious to find out, because I know that you race cars. So coming from the traditional phase, how did you end up racing cars?
Well, I didn't really race them, but I drive fast cars and I liked dicing and so forth. So when I got pregnant with Logan, I was sitting in my Mazda. I told her the story, and you know, I had this, and it had loud sounds. So every time you kind of stopped, somebody wanted to dice, and I was dicing this BMW with my 6-month-old tummy, and I thought, no, it's time for a mommy car. You have to let this one go. But I love cars. I've loved them from a young age. I love adrenaline stuff. My mom took me to do modeling because I was a real tomboy. I was one of the boys, you know, always. And luckily she made me do modeling, which I appreciate very much. But it taught me to be a girl. To walk up straight, to walk nicely, you know, all those things. And she really thought she needed to take this little one and just take her to do a bit of modeling just so that we can refine her a little bit so that she can find a path in life. But that's why I say there's a lot of things that defines us, and we shouldn't define it by traditional expectations.
I still picture you, you know, wearing thigh-high boots, you know, 8-inch, and just racing and being pregnant with Logie.
I wore high heels when I was, because that's the modeling part of me coming through. But I realize that's a responsible part now. So, but it doesn't stop me from going back to that.
Absolutely. No, it doesn't. Thank you. Sonia, the modern phase, which is the third phase, which is I am not who you say I am. And I know you can unpack this beautifully. So please take us through this.
So the modern phase, I think, has a number of facets to it. The facet that I experienced most, having, you know, been pretty successful in my past lives in corporate, was the modern phase expressing itself as a pseudo-male. I was once given an award when I worked for an oil company that was the She's Got BALLS award, and I'm just I'm not going to say what it is, but she's got Balls Award, right?
Yeah.
And I was very proud of that award because it actually meant I had made it. I was up there with the men and everybody clapped, you know, and I felt that I'd really made my mark now, that I was kind of equal, you know, in this environment. So sometimes the modern face expresses itself purely in the masculine energy from a woman's perspective. But the other part of the modern face is when that kind of starts to run out. When the kind of achievement aspect of that starts to run out, and we look at ourselves in the mirror one morning and we think, but this isn't who I am, right? You know, that I'm sick of the energy that it takes to present in a way that is not me. And because of the anger that gets generated of putting on a bodysuit, like almost a male bodysuit, and working in that environment, which is completely false actually, then the anger comes up, and that is then when the resistance and the reform and the activism happens. And for me, that was basically going to war with colleagues, being self-righteous about my own perspective, not listening, you know, being strident. And if I think of a movement, I probably think of the feminist movement, you know, kind of in the 60s and the 70s, you know, as being representative of this, you know, the burning the bras, you know, all of this kind of thing, which scared the bejeebers out of, you know, the majority of people on the planet, because it was so strident, it was so out of control, this idea that, you know, and the modern woman, you know, is the one who believes they can have it all. That I deserve it all, I can have it all. And I think the shadow side of that is the fact that women knock themselves out. They, you know, sometimes have breakdowns as a result of being superwoman, being the best mum, you know, nurturing the parents as they get older, you know, having a career, high-powered career, you know, and feeling that they have to do all of that perfectly. You know, so it's a trap that I think actually was spawned by the feminist movement in many ways, and it wasn't anchored in the true feminine attributes. It was putting on the cloak of the masculine. And so I've been through that, and one of the reasons I was so successful in corporate is because I was that face.
And I think all of us sitting here,
we're all nodding.
we have been there, you know,
Yes.
before. Yes, we have been there before. Yes. Thank you so much for unpacking it beautifully, you know, like this. And now the final phase is the Shakti. And Shakti actually comes from a Sanskrit term, which is about accessing the power to be who I am. So can you see now, it's the return back home to the eternal phase. We were talking about, you know, the going back home during our episode. This is about divine feminine energy. And not just for women, both men and women, we have this divine feminine energy. It's about unleashing that goddess, reclaiming that because it's within you, whether male or female, and accessing that eternal power, the innate power. We're not talking about the external one. We're talking about the innate power that you are created with. So ladies, how do we go back home to access the power to be who we are? How do we do this?
I think it's almost like, again, defining that the modern phase that we all got stuck in at some point in our corporate life is actually very primitive, because it's about win, it's about being first, it's about being seen. And I think once we start to talk about it and define it, to start to then move back to, you can actually relax. You're okay with who you are.
Yes.
And once you experience that, it's almost a relief. You can just be.
Yeah. I
And
don't
then
have to prove anything.
nothing.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you start to perform.
Yeah.
Yes.
You don't have
You
to
lost
play
your
this game.
exactly.
You don't have to play the game.
No, it's
you
not
can
a
focus
game,
on
yes.
what's needed.
Yeah.
And I think that we should say that to one another.
Mm.
That's primitive.
Yes.
We can move beyond that. And you don't need to emulate
Yeah.
men to be successful. And I also want to bring it back to diversity management. In diversity management, diverse doesn't mean only race, it also means gender.
Yes.
And there is a place for the neutral
Yeah.
I am within diversity.
Yeah.
And you don't need to
I
to
like
start
that.
to
Like
try
that's
to
quite
compete
powerful,
all the
yes.
time.
Yeah, that space for the neutral as well
Yes.
within that I
Yes.
am. Yes. Yeah. Great. Thank you. And anyone, how do we, Michelle, go back home? Thank you, Dr. Elmi. Yeah.
I think that it's a understanding of yourself again, to move past all of these things and get down to the essence again. You know, all these things that cloud us, and you're going to be influenced. And I have to say, I have experience with this. After doing a lot of work in EQ and so forth, I started becoming much more calmer in the chase for what we believe is the power, you know, that power trip. You know, as a youngster, we all have this, I've got the position now, so, you know, and now I have to act the way, so I get the acknowledgement and respect. And it's not necessarily that. I sat back and I became a much more observant, much more reserved in that chase. And I actually got a comment from somebody that threw me a bit. And the person said, you know, you were cutthroat, you were always cutthroat, you know, and all of a sudden you're so calm, you can see you became a mother.
Positive feedback. Yeah.
No, for me it was really not positive.
Did it trigger you?
Yeah, it actually, he said to me it was because I became a mother. And
Oh,
because
I
I
get you now.
became a mother, I
yeah.
became, I'm not cutthroat and I'm not performing the way I used to perform anymore. You know, I was, I was very harsh to some degree, if I put it that way. You know, as an HR person, you can get very caught up in strategy and not in people. So I was driven strategy and so forth. So, and that comment kind of threw me, and I wanted to say, but hey, who the hell do you think? You know, that's not a positive comment. But I kept, I went back and I kind of thought about it. And that's what I want to say. You're going to get resistance. You're going to go get those comments, and you're going to get critique. But don't let it stop you. Because once you move through that process and that phase, you actually become happier, content with that person again. And you can use it for your performance and benefit. And like you say, you perform better.
Yes.
And also for me,
All this baggage is gone.
Yeah.
This dragging baggage.
Yes. in that comment, even though it came out, you know, differently,
You can
it
take
is
it.
also confirmation that you're doing work on yourself.
Yes.
Even though the person took it within
And
the
that's what I
context
took
of
from
because
it,
of
you know,
motherhood. But
And
again,
I was proud of it.
yes, because you've already started doing work on yourself.
Yeah, I was proud because I
Yes.
didn't like the term. I
Yeah.
didn't like the term cutthroat. I can't remember what they called me at that stage. They actually called me a name because I was part of hearings and, you know, those type of things. And there was a specific name that I was, and I didn't like that in it. Like you say, you don't like that energy because that's not what your purpose is.
It's not.
And so for me, that was kind of like a throw me back. But when I thought about it, I actually was proud of the comment because yes, I've moved on and I've moved past
on.
it.
Yeah. I mean, when I was at one of the mining giants that I used to work for, I used to be called, an iron lady, right? So when I
Yes.
was aggressive, until when I started doing work, with you and the faculty, and that is when I started removing the layers, right? Yeah, to move back to being my authentic self. Thank you.
I remember the term, it was the Grim
Yes.
Reaper. That is what they called
Wow.
me.
Oh my
So it was quite
gosh,
harsh.
yes, yeah, that was quite harsh, yeah.
That's very harsh.
So Sonia, you do a lot of work around mastery, and you've done this work all over the globe. So what are some of the things that you can share with the viewers with regards to going back home and accessing the power to be who they are?
It's a paradox, and I listened to both stories and the paradox that sits within the story of the movement from the modern face to embrace the Shakti. Is the fact that the more we cling and the more we are attached, the less we are able to expand and grow into our potential. Whereas the less we are attached and the more we are able to hold our intentionality around who we are and what's important to us and the purpose and the things we talked about, the more there is the flow. So the differentiation then between the showing up or the manifestation of how we are seen and experienced and who we are collapses into one. So there is no boundary then, or there's no differentiation between the way we show up and who we are internally. There's some very interesting work that's done by David Hawkins. He wrote a book called Power versus Force. And it's the book that actually talks about the levels of consciousness. And in that book, he speaks about the emotional resonances up until we get to the point of neutrality as being force-based resonances or force-based consciousness. And it includes things like anger and shame and guilt and resentment and all of those kinds of things. And then once you move through the neutrality, you move into power. And the power are the elements that were the more positive emotions as we would think of, such as affection, such as love, such as gratitude, those sorts of things. And he contrasts this idea of force and power. That in fact, just as electricity runs effortlessly through a wire from the sometimes working ESCOM to our houses. It doesn't have to be forced. The electricity flows effortlessly through that channel. That's the purity of power that sits in the Shakti. And that's the difference between that and force.
Yeah.
Force is exhausting.
Yes.
Because we're having to pull out of ourselves our energy to move us forward. Whereas when we are in our power, the universe provides whatever is available, and we are enlivened. We are, we come out more energized than when we actually started the process.
Yeah.
That's how we know we are in those two different places.
Yeah. Because force is like you're going uphill, right?
Exactly, you're pushing
And
the boulder uphill.
Yes, but then
Power is
the
like
power is like you're just going downstream,
It's
right?
like a water flowing.
Yes, and like you said, then the universe will just orchestrate. Things will just start happening when you are in that state of flow.
Exactly.
Yeah, you are in the field, which is more powerful. Thank you so much, So wrapping it up, ladies, and also the month of August, just a beautiful message to our beautiful sisters, and not excluding our men as well. What would you like the message that you would like to send out there to our viewers, and not just only in South Africa, because we've got viewers, globally, and I know you will resonate with the topic today. Dr. Almi, just a message, to our ladies and men globally.
Don't be a bully. Be assertive. Don't be aggressive. Be decisive. And don't be arrogant, but be confident.
Wow.
And that will force you out of the modern phase. I was fortunate. I've never been in the traditional
Traditional.
phase. Yeah, no, that pushed me right through into the modern phase. So I can say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Be confident,
Yeah.
be decisive, and be assertive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So by fire, by force, from traditional straight
Absolutely.
into the modern.
Yeah.
No, you didn't even,
No, they knew I
bypass
won't fit
that.
there. So they've just forced me in here.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the beautiful
Thank you.
message. Yeah. And Michelle, message to our women and men.
I
out
think we
there?
touched on it. Take hands and stand by each other. Women and men alike. Just be supportive
Yes.
to
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Sonia?
Oh, I could say like a week of things, couldn't I? For me, it's to listen to the small voice,
Yeah.
the one that often we turn away from. Actually, the small, quiet voice is the one that is most powerful and does bring us home, back to the eternal self, irrespective of our journey.
Yeah.
So listen for the small voice.
Yeah. Thank you. It's quite powerful. Yeah. Very powerful. Yeah, that intuition. Yeah, the sixth sense. Yeah. Here, from my side, a message to our sisters out there, and it's about inclusion, like Dr. Elmi said, also to our brothers. It's just to be kind to oneself and to others. You know, if we can just pause, listen to that small voice, and also be kind. Just that kindness to yourself, you know, automatically it will ripple effect into you being kind to other people. We lack kindness in this world. Just small acts. It doesn't have to be big things, you know, that we do. And that's what is going to help us to also find, you know, integrate the masculine and the feminine energy so that we can be in our power, being here, the eternal phase, you know, and accessing that power, the Shakti, to be who we are meant to be. So thank you so much, ladies. I really enjoyed this episode, and Sonia, you know, Dr.
Thank
Elmi,
you, Joy.
and Michelle.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's just powerful to go through this, and also acknowledging Caroline Wood, you know, once again for this amazing work that she has done. And do not forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, and tap that notification button. Every Thursday we post a video. Until next time, bye for now.